Weiner refuses to pull out of the New York City mayoral race. That's right. Anthony Weiner continues to resist calls to bow out of the race 2 days after admitting that he continued to have sexually charged online chats that led him to resign from Congress. And yesterday, Nick Ritchie of TheDirty.com spoke to me about some of the more salacious aspects of that controversy. John, Anthony Weiner is digging in his heels. Will donors follow, though? You know, it's one thing to say I'm staying in the race. It's another thing to win a race when people think you're creepy.
Well, first off, it's New York. If New York didn't have a colorful mayor's race, I don't know what any of us would do. New York has a history of very colorful politicians. That's the big question is, will donors be following Anthony Weiner? He doesn't have the political establishment behind him. He has not had them behind him. But at the same time, we have to remember, as we're talking about donors, but he's already raised a ton of money for this mayoral race, which he raised long before he started. We knew he was sexting with others. So, but the question is, will voters follow? He doesn't have the party machine. He doesn't have the union backing. He doesn't have that political apparatus behind his candidacy, yet he's still one of the most recognizable figures in this race. And he has an appeal to some in the outer boroughs, which question is will they be able to look past these personal indiscretions and look at the mayor's race? So it's going to be very interesting. I know, one thing that's interesting is the candidates who are calling on him to drop out of the race are the ones that would very much benefit from him getting out of the race and it being more of a four-way race.
I'm wondering if the stories of his demise are greatly exaggerated by his opponents. You know, people are saying, oh, my God, he can't possibly win this race. The voters deserve better. He now has no choice but to bow out. And I'm wondering if that's more wishful thinking from his Democratic competitors than it is any real assessment of what's going on. I mean, people were creeped out before, and he was still in the lead. Based on the poll that was released Tuesday, which was from Thursday to Tuesday, he's still in the lead. He still holds 27%. This afternoon, we'll get a new poll to really get a sense of where Weiner stands. Every time I say his name in a sentence, I feel like I need to giggle. But we have 6 months. I mean, is there any reason to think that he couldn't pull this thing out?
Well, it's still very possible. It is still very possible for Weiner to win this thing. Remember, the goal in the primary is 40%. Unless a candidate gets 40% of the vote, there's going to be a runoff between the two top candidates, which is looking right now as Weiner and Christine Quinn, the city council speaker. The candidates who are calling at him to drop out, Bill de Blasio and Bill Thompson, they're the candidates who stand to gain the most from Weiner getting out of this race. Weiner's voters can go to de Blasio, they can go to Thompson. That positions them to get into a runoff with Quinn. Noticeably, Quinn has condemned the latest in Anthony Weiner's sexcapades, but at the same time, she has not called on him to drop out of the race because Quinn helps keep Weiner in the race, helps Quinn because he draws away from the other candidates, makes it easier for her to advance to a runoff. And Quinn is guessing on the fact of she gets into a runoff one-on-one with Anthony Weiner. Weiner does not have the institutional support. He's creeped out a lot of people. No one in the Democratic Party seemingly likes him anymore. She's hoping one-on-one against Weiner, she can pull this thing out. So from a political standpoint, it's great for the other candidates to get Weiner to pull out and go into rehab or repair his marriage or whatever. Christine Quinn, she wants him in this race. It helps her. So it's going to be very interesting. And at the end of the day, it's New York City. Voters look at so many different issues, and voters are willing to, this is the city that Rudy Giuliani, whose marriage was borderline dysfunctional when he got reelected in 1997, easily won, and his marriage just kept going downhill from there. And he was mayor for 8 years. So let's look at, New York City is willing to take on candidate or mayors who may not have the most clean personal life going forward. Remember, Mike Bloomberg won the election 12 years ago after a series of sexual harassment lawsuits from his private company. So, it's the New York electorate. They've forgiven in the past. Maybe they'll do it again.
Maybe they will. Well, right now, a new poll has been released. I said before that I was basing my information on Tuesday's poll. A new poll came out just now, which puts Quinn in the lead for the first time. Wall Street Journal there has it referenced for us. Now Quinn is in the lead, holding 25%. Weiner is now in second place, still holding on 16%, with a third place finish with another 14% for the other opponent. So he's still in the midst in the mix. You know, if there were a runoff, he would still be right there. Weiner still has a shot. Yes or no, John? Does Weiner pull out?
Weiner's not going to pull out. Weiner's going to stay in this thing. Let's be honest here. He's got the money in his campaign account. He'll lose the city matching funds he's already gotten if he does not run and he decides to bank his contributions for another race. Weiner has nothing to lose at this point.